of Tiny Perfect Things is a new sci-fi dramedy that stars Kyle Allen, and it also stars Kathryn Newton. If you don't know who Kathryn Newton is, there was a film last year with Vince Vaughn called Freaky. If you guys haven't checked that out, she was in that movie. It's a film that is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I got to see this, I think a week ago now, and I'm just now getting to it. Shit's been crazy, man. Been wild busy, and there's just been too many videos for me to put out, not enough time to actually do it. This is a movie that centers around the concept of a time loop, and you guys certainly know what those movies are like. Kyle Allen's character is a young man who finds himself trapped in the same day over and over again. Every time it reaches a certain point at night, lightning strikes, and then he wakes up the next day and it's the same exact day that he just lived. So he goes on and on for a while in this life, living this day over and over again until he meets Kathryn Newton's character, who is also a young woman who is trapped in a time loop. Now that they've discovered that each of them is trapped in the same time loop and they can't escape this day, kind of a romance starts, but then it's also kind of a philosophical thing because he kind of wants to figure out a way out of their situation. She's kind of like, what's the harm? I mean, basically we're immortal and we can't grow old and yada, yada, yada. I know what you're thinking right off the bat. You're thinking this is Groundhog's Day. This is just another time loop movie, and you've seen hundreds of thousands of these type of movies before. And you know what? You have. I'm not gonna blame you for going into this movie thinking, you know what? I already know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be predictable as hell. I'm not really interested because what else can they do with this concept that they haven't done before? I'm here to basically confirm that you're right for feeling that way about the movie, sort of, but also here to kind of relieve your concerns a little bit, that just because you know what's gonna happen and you know that the day is gonna repeat itself doesn't mean that the movie isn't good at what it's trying to do. I've said this 100,000 times on this channel, and that feels like a time loop in and of itself. I've said this before. Sometimes it's not really about how cliche something is, how overly familiar a concept is. It's all about the execution. It's all about how they make you feel while it's happening. Kyle Allen, who I admit I have not seen a lot from him, but he flexes a lot of really great dramatic chops in this movie. And Kathryn Newton, I've seen her in some other stuff before. She's always seemed talented to me, and definitely this is another movie where she really gets to showcase her full ability. The emotional highs and lows that these characters go to throughout this film is something that I honestly did not expect. Another thing that really pushes this movie is the same thing that needs to work in this movie, because a large portion of it revolves around these two characters. Yeah, there are some other people in the movie. Kyle Allen has a family that pops up every now and then, but for the most part, you are in the thick of it, in this time loop with this boy and with this girl, and you're trying to really go on this journey with them. Basically, if you don't give a shit about their characters, then the entire movie threatens to fall flat and definitely feel like it's bludgeoning you in the face with boredom over and over again. The character work in this movie is actually pretty solid. I like these characters. I like the attempt to flesh them out and really give them multiple dimensions. You know, they weren't one note at all. Just from watching this movie, I'm not gonna say like visually it's dazzling or anything like that, but it definitely feels like it was shot by somebody who really loves doing some interesting things with the camera. Beyond that, I do think that this is more of a coming of age story. So for the people that are gonna roll their eyes and compare it to like Palm Springs from last year, by the way, you should check out Palm Springs. That movie's fucking awesome. But I would say this movie is the anti-Palm Springs. Palm Springs is really more of an adult raunchy comedy that had dramatic stuff in it, and this is really more of the same Groundhog time loop concept, but it's more of a drama. It doesn't go for laughs as much, and it has a message at its core, which is that sometimes you have to reach outside of yourself to get to where you want to go in life. And sometimes there are things that are happening around you in the world that are bigger than you. I think that young people could walk away from this movie and go, you know what? Okay, I could probably take that and apply that to my life. Or, you know, you could just continue being young people and not giving a shit about what some movie about some old concept does. I mean, you could do that too. As far as issues with the film, I do feel like there are some pacing issues, and more specifically, I feel like the pacing really suffers when the movie focuses and really goes in on the melodrama. There are some moments where it threatens to get a little bit overly sappy, and it does feel like a Lifetime movie at times. When it gets to that, and when it gets really heavy, and when it gets to the parts that you know are coming, the pacing for the movie does slow down, and it makes the movie feel longer than it is. Another issue is that while the characters themselves have great arcs, and I'm gonna try to critique this without spoiling it, characters have great arcs, but it also feels like the romance part of their arcs was a little bit unnecessary. It's not that they don't have good chemistry or anything like that. It just feels like when you look at these characters and how they evolved and how they got to where they are by the end of the story, it doesn't feel like the romance plays as big a role in that as the movie would try to have you believe. Beyond that, like I said, it's an overly familiar concept. So you're gonna know and see certain shit happening before it happens. You know there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Peaks and valleys and highs and lows to the story. You've seen it before. So the Map of Tiny Perfect Things was actually a pretty solid movie that I enjoyed for what it was, and I'm going to leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. If you're into time loop movies, more specifically coming of age movies, I think you should check this one out. Those are my thoughts on the Map of Tiny Perfect Things. Let me know, what is your favorite time loop movie of all time, not including Edge of Tomorrow. Come on, we know that that's cheating. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. Stay tuned for more videos, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.